Hello, 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 everyone. It's Dr. Tamara Beckford, and I am here to welcome you inside the EntreMD Business School podcast. All righty, I'm so excited. So we are going in to another of our wonderful doc, and she has returned to tell us all that's been going on within the last year. So when we first interviewed her, she was approximately like 6 or so months into business, into her own private practice. But now, wow, so much has happened within this year. So I'm going to have her introduce herself. Go ahead, Dr. Funke, let us know your name, your business, and where you are having this business. Go ahead, tell us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dr. Tamara. So I'm Dr. Funke Afolabi-Brown. I am the founder and the CEO of Restful Sleep MD and the Restful Sleep Place. And I really do one thing, one single thing, multiple approaches, but one thing that is help individuals and families thrive using sleep as a tool. And so I do this through my speaking, my coaching, and my clinical practice. So I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah. And where are you coming in from? Where are you hailing from right now?
Yeah, so I'm here in my home in Pennsylvania, Ambler. It's a cute town called Ambler.
I love it. Alrighty. So for those of you who have been under a rock, Dr. Funke is she's like a renowned sleep expert. And she's been part of the business school. We've seen this like ginormous rise in Dr. Funke where anyone thinks of sleep, we're all looking and saying like, oh yeah, Dr. Funke. If we're not sleep enough, we're like, oh, don't tell Dr. Funke because she's all about sleep. Now, here it is, like we mentioned at the beginning, she had just started her practice and so much has changed within a year. So Dr. Fugate, let us know, within this last year of business, what are some of the tangible wins that you've had in your business? And, how did that make you feel? And like, whoa, tell us all about this because we want to be excited and we want to celebrate with you.
Yeah, no, so much has happened. So my practice initially started off as just purely virtual. I
Mm.
moved into a space and, I'm actually getting my own space now. So that's been a big win. And then the other piece is just revenue. I hit my a milestone of 6 figures. So that was incredible. And I would say another one was I wrote a book that became an Amazon bestseller within the first day of being released in
Yes.
like 6 categories. And this book has really helped me establish myself even more as an authority within the sleep space. So many other wins, but these just kind of come off very quickly.
I love it. Wow. So not only did we move from a virtual practice to an inpatient practice to now about to open your own space, right? So this restful place has completely come alive. The restful place was virtual. Then we had a smaller space, but then now we're going to have our own space. And then you are a bestseller. Now, here's the thing, this book, like you said, it really has established you in this in your field, which is like sleep medicine. But it's not like this book is just like down the street. Like people in like big places are reading this book. So tell us where you've had like some large orders and people are really using this as a guide and to help not just patients, but other physicians are really looking at this as a resource. So tell us some of the places where people have been reading your books and, all throughout this United States.
Yeah, so many places, so many places. And I think one of the things that I have, because when you go online and look for sleep books, you're going to find a lot. But most times people really limit it to the first few years of life, the first 3 years, that toddler that won't sleep or that baby that needs sleep training. And then
Mhm.
it's like, okay, that's it. Good luck with
But
the
after
rest of
that, life,
life.
life is over.
And then they show up in their 20s and they can't sleep, right? So what this book really offers is a broad, across the age spectrum of what to expect in your child's sleep, what to expect even when you're pregnant. So I have a chapter in there for moms. I have a chapters for the baby, for the school age child, for the teenagers. I have chapters on children with neurodiverse conditions. It's just been a whole breadth. And so because of that, it has positioned me to enter rooms where all these stages are mentioned. So rooms where it's really full of moms, whether within, you know, the early stages of motherhood or later stages of motherhood, or, you know, schools. And so libraries have been places where somebody just sent me a screenshot in their library, like way off somewhere, and said, hey, look what I found in this library. And it was my book right on the recommended shelf. So that's been
on
great.
the recommended shelf.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty amazing. And then I would say another one would be within training programs. So, you know, residency programs. I've now really been on several grand rounds now that I've been able to come and speak as, you know, as a grand round speaker, really around pediatric sleep medicine. So what I love about it is that I'm not just speaking to lay people. The book was made for lay people, literally, but clinicians have found so much value in it that even within the academic space, residents and trainees are saying, wait, we didn't know all these things about sleep. Nobody taught us about sleep. And so having that opportunity to be able to speak on this topic, which is a passion of mine, and really talk about my book, and really, again, now almost make it like a resource within academic institutions has been, I think that's been a huge win.
Oh man, wow. So we already knew that Dr. Funke was really the expert on sleep, but the secret has gone out. So it's no longer there. So, you know, you literally have been stamped and labeled, you know, the sleep expert. You were able to do a lot of speaking prior. And now with this book, you know, you are literally the thought leader in this space, and everyone else knows that, and that has opened up a lot of doors. Now, as you mentioned, you know, you're now doing a lot of grand rounds. People and clinicians are also using your book. So when we think of some of the intangible wins that you have now had within this year, what are some of the additional intangible wins that you've noticed within your business since our last conversation?
And one is my confidence, right? There's zero rush energy. I don't have any, you know, I used to deal with a scarcity mindset. We all do, around money drama. Will people come? You know, I raised my prices and I didn't even look back. I've had a couple of people say, oh, well, no, but you know, before I would take it personal, because then I'm like, oh my God, maybe nobody will come. No, because I know that the right people will. So that confidence has really soared. It's helped. You know, having a book that's a bestseller and is read worldwide is pretty validating.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's one intangible win. And then the other piece is, you know, just the piece that I feel, that I sense, that I'm right smack dab in the middle of my purpose. I'm right where I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
You can't place a price tag on that, because now I know when people say, well, how do you define success? Yeah, look at me. My definition of success is where I am. I'm still growing, so there's still room to go. But I think when you do things and you feel like you're absolutely in alignment with where you're meant to be and what you're meant to do, you know, the rest is history.
Oh, wow. So this enormous sense of confidence and an additional extra sense of peace because you're aligned with what you're doing. You're confident because the proof is in the pudding, like they said, you know, so no longer do you have to doubt if you can do this. If this is, do you know as much as you think you know? The proof is there. And this extra sense of peace, knowing that you're walking in your purpose. So that is invaluable. But even knowing that, even with that, there's still so much more that there's out there for you. But when you're going towards it, you're going towards it with a sense of confidence and a sense of peace. So that within itself speaks volume. I love it. So now here we are. People are hearing this and they're like, oh, wow, Dr. Funke, she sounds so confident and she's at peace. Everything must have worked out for her. As soon as she said, oh, I want this, then boom, it miraculously happened. And we're here to say, oh, challenges do happen. So tell us, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've had since our last conversation, and how were you able to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about confidence, this version of me was not even last year. So it's,
Yeah.
and I don't want anybody to come up saying, oh my goodness, she's so confident. And this is me in pure humility. This is really when you say yes to your purpose, this is what happens, right?
Mhm.
Um, and it's, oh my goodness, it's not just a walk in the park. No, it's not. There are challenges. And one of the things we always say in EBS is your business will always be a construction site. So
Yes.
once you've settled that in your mind, then it really allows you to approach things with, okay, construction site. So, between just, growth, sometimes really staring at an empty schedule,
Mm-hmm.
and thinking back, oh my gosh, when I was employed, this was not an issue. Right now you understand the rubbers meet the road, something needs to happen. So visibility was something I struggled with. And then, in terms of how I wanted to structure my practice, because I enjoy speaking. I don't want anybody or practice to even take that away from me, because I feel like I have something to say and I want as many people as possible to hear it. So balancing that with running a practice, and still being able to be laser focused was challenging. And there were times when I said, okay, I'm not really sure what I'm doing. I'm not even sure if I should be having a practice, right? Because I'm like, well, if I'm trying to speak, then that's taking the time away from the practice. If I'm trying to run the practice, I'm not going to get to speak. And it's becoming this beautiful synchronous thing that I'm doing. And again, construction site. So I think, and then also in my mind, right, there's what we hear that's like, oh, you're just this one trick pony. You can't do this, that, and the other. You only need to do this. So then in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, wow, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. I'm all over the place, but it's coming together so nicely. And I
Yeah.
would say the way I've overcome it is with a lot of mindset work. When I define the outcome, even before I start, like this thing will succeed. And
Yes.
then moving from, like Dr. Una says, instead of, oh my God, I can't do it, how can I strike that
The
balance?
most powerful
It
question.
is the most powerful question. So I would say that's been how I've
Mhm.
overcome that. And then the other thing is really leaning into my tribe, leaning into my community, EBS, being able to say, okay, how do I even go about this? And so those two things have been major ways by which I've been able to navigate challenges,
Mhm.
and also just being aware that, yeah, they will come. The outcome of building a business that's successful is you will create more problems. And so
That
that, then you just move in and say, well, how can I navigate this problem, right?
yeah,
So that's it.
I love it. Now, here's the thing too, as you mentioned, um, one of the biggest lessons that we all had to learn is that our businesses are a construction site. And I love that you said that, because that's something that you know it, but then while you're in it, sometimes you get this, well, it isn't perfect and therefore. And then when you are connected with so many people who are also doing business, you realize that everybody's business is not perfect to them. It's always a construction site, because you're always working on ways to improve, whatever it is, if it's either patient care, the deliverance of the care, or how you're structuring your business. There's always a construction site. So that being a big lesson within itself is powerful, because then you can start to reduce the stress of this perfectionism that comes with, well, my business isn't perfect. Like, no one believes their business is perfect. Everyone recognizes and understand that their business is under construction, but you're delivering the best that you can with what you have at that moment in time. And one thing you mentioned is pulling from your tribe. Now, that's where I'm going to ask us to dive in a little deeper. Now, how has the school helped you to deliver some of your success that you've had over this last year since we've spoken? How has the school helped you to do that?
Oh, so many ways. Starting with the groups,
Mhm.
the community, being within the EBS community. It's just such an amazing room full of greatness, So I don't think you can stay in that group for 2 days and not just experience transformation. So I've had the privilege of being in EBS for over 3 years now. And the version of me that started is clearly doesn't exist anymore. And I really
I don't
can,
think the version of anyone exists anymore.
and I really can credit the group and then, the coaching that we receive, the Wednesday coaching, the book of the month. I mean, I am reading so avidly and I'm really literally watching myself transform.
Yes.
And, and then just the challenges, right? We do monthly challenges. Sometimes it's this ask-a-thon. Sometimes it's intentionally finding ways to delegate tasks so I can delegate like a boss, right? When I hear people say, oh yeah, I don't check my email after X. And then I said, well, why am I checking my email? Who can take that off my plate? Why? So when you
absolutely
doing that, then you start to think, well, if they can do it, why can't I? So all of a sudden ideas start to open up to and come to you about how you can improve your practice, improve your workflows, lead your team. So it's been very helpful. And then just from again, there's ups and there's downs. And so knowing that you have people that you can lean into, who will not judge you, who will not make you feel less than, but the same group celebrates you when you have these incredible wins. Like some of the things I share with you, I know it's not every community that will take it lightly for me to say, oh yes, I'm a world-renowned sleep speaker. They'll be like, who is she? Who does she think she is? But guess what?
And you're like a world-renowned sleep speaker.
Yeah, but in the EBS Business School, that's how we talk. We own our wins.
Yes.
And it's a safe community for us to say, yes, I made 6 figures. Yes, I hit the 7th figure mark. Like, it's amazing. And people celebrate you authentically, genuinely. And the energy has been so positive. And that really has been, I could just go on and on.
Oh, I love it. And that's one of the things that we talk about often on, this show, which is that there's such a positive energy that is within the group. And it's a positive, some people might think it like, well, is this peer pressure? It's a positive pressure because it's more of an uplifting than it is a pressure. It's an ability to know that I can do this because of so many different reasons. One, I've seen someone do it. Two, they're willing to share with me how they did it. Three, they're willing to show me how to avoid the pitfalls. And therefore, they accelerate my ability to get to that next level. And guess what? If I make a mistake or something happens that I did not expect, they're there to say, and support me and said, okay, you know what? Don't worry. Hey, this is how we can help you to get to the next level. And being in a community that's constantly there to support you and give you that drive, give you that energy, give you those resources, it's rare. It's rare to have that on a consistent basis. But that's what's happening here within our school. So now here it is. I'm telling everyone about this and they hear you talking, but they might still say, you know what, Dr. Funke, I don't know. I might be still on the fence. What do you say to that person? They're like, yeah, I came to the workshop. I had some good responses to the workshop. I was able to bring in a couple $100 or maybe a couple $1,000 in my business, but maybe the workshop alone is good. How different is it to be in the school than to go to the workshops that we have, the free workshops? What would you say to that person?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would say you literally just answered your own question, because if we just kind of like tethering on the fence and somewhere in the periphery, you're already experiencing change and results. Imagine going straight to the source. So yeah, that's it. Like, it all depends on how fast you want to go. Again, I would say, this is what I always say with every decision I have to make. When you look back like 6 months from now, if you keep doing what you're doing, nothing changes, you're doing the same thing, will you say, oh my goodness, I made the best decision not joining. If you can, then don't join. But if you think, if there's a possibility, a potential, even the smallest, where you're like, oh man, then you probably should jump in and do it, because the worst case scenario would be, I made too much money, and that I don't know what to say. And I don't know what to do with it, or something. I don't know. But I would say, when you want to look back, you want to make sure that if you're on the fence, that you want to make sure that you're making that decision with such confidence. But if you're already seeing, even when the free stuff, the YouTube, I mean, the podcast, the workshops, you feel there's a rise, there's an excitement within you there's a yearning, and that's what I call it, right? There's a yearning for more. Then bet on yourself and make a decision.
Love it. So if you're out there and you're listening and you have listened to the podcast, if you've gone to some of the challenges, you're listening to Dr. Una on Facebook when she does her lives, and you're like, you know what? There's this inner voice. It's yearning for more, wondering like, what is it like on the inside? I'll tell you this, you'll be amongst people who are supportive, who will help you to push you to drive yourself to that goal that you've written for yourself, to help you to live not just that goal in business, but that goal in life, because that's something that we live concurrently. And then we deeply believe in that, in being part of the school. So if you've taken the time out to listen to this podcast, as Dr. Funke says, and you hear that and feel that yearning, and you hear that voice that says, you know what, maybe I should go ahead and do this, fill out an application. Just fill out an application. Go to the EntreMD website. It's entremd.com. Fill out that application and talk to one of our team members and see if this is right for you. What's one of the worst things that can happen? 6 months from now has passed and you're in the same position. Is this what you want for your life? If this is not, then come ahead and join us. And we will welcome you with open arms to be part of our family in the EntreMD Business School. I want to thank Dr. Funke for taking the time out to say hello and to give you guys an insight as to how fantastic her year has been as now a world-renowned sleep specialist, best-selling author, and a speaker with her wonderful practice, The Restful Place, and with her wonderful services that she provides as part of her clinical and also her coaching and her speaking. So thank you so much, Dr. Funke. Thank you for listening out there in our podcast land. I'm Dr. Tamara Beckford, and I will catch you guys next time on the Inside the EntreMD Business School podcast. Take care. Bye-bye.